2, 1. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, going on a journey without a map will never allow you to get to your destination. We believe that the physiological reality when dealing with illness like COVID or cancer are that we are against an enemy that is invisible. An invisible enemy who has plagued us for a long time, and in order for us to be able to have a chance as an individual or society to be able to deal with it, we need to be able to acknowledge what it is. We think that whether this be a bacteria or a virus that seeks to destroy and claim life, we understand the difficulties and struggle that the people who are affected by are plagued by it, and they are exactly who motivate our side of the house. Let's be very clear. We aren't here to glorify survivors and shame those who fell before us, but to be able to have an objective reality of assessing what's happening when we look at biology and disease in order to do the following. A, to be able to ascertain where we are in the process of overcoming this particular illness. So for instance, are we all good already, like what the majority of the world has been able to do with the likes of smallpox and polio? Are we kinda mid or cruising by, just like COVID and all its variants? Or are we like absolutely kinda fucked still, just like the challenges we're facing with cancer, etc., given decades later, there is still no cure? This debate is about knowing the reality of the situation of these illnesses, to be able to scout the battlefield and truly understand how we can be able to deal with them and prioritize resources, which ironically are able to really achieve the benefits that they want, which is taking care of people, taking care of their emotional sensitivities, and making sure that people feel all right. There are a couple of things in my speech. The first is being able to explain why exactly it should be framed as a battlefield metaphor and how this allows us to be able to better deal with the illness from a medical perspective. Number two, how framing it as such allows us to be able to push people who have the chance to win a capacity to fight the good fight and offer a sense of support and empathy to those who are struggling and even to those who fell before us. And thirdly, a comparative of why Gov's underdeveloped and missing counterfactual is worse as opposed to the narrative we want to forward. Let's first deal with what they tell us, right? The previous speaker talks about how, yeah, people are all different, some people are weaker, some people are stronger, and we don't want to be able to necessarily shame particular people. Ladies and gentlemen, let's just kind of like gut check and vibe check this. If you died from cancer, no one really says, yo, fuck that guy, fuck that old guy, they're a loser, they're less. Nor does anyone say the comparative. Oh, you survived cancer? Clap, 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 you're much better than all these people. Yes, it's a binary categorical definition, but there's so much compassion and nuance and empathy in which people look at this precisely because of the sensitivity of these things. But what I tell you is that there is an objective reality, meaning when you're plagued by this illness, you want to be able to survive, and there's definitely something we can be able to learn from both sides. Why is that the case? It's because when people who fall to these particular illnesses happen, we're able to unlock and understand what are things that that person might have done better, things like diets, things like certain treatments, or even preventive measures like exercise and not having a sedentary lifestyle. And we're also able to call out doctors in the medical community in a way that, look, this particular form of chemotherapy, it might not have been the most effective in hindsight. We could have tried other kinds of treatments. Uniquely, when you frame it as a battlefield metaphor of overcoming this particular process, which we agree with coming from the previous speaker, allows us certain crucial medical insight to be able to understand what these particular individuals had done or what could have done better. The comparative is also true, meaning when you take a look at people who are able to beat cancer or able to overcome even late stage cancer, there's often a common denominator of being able to be healthier at earlier parts in their life, eating less pasteurized and trans foods, etc. And we understand that the birth lottery is something we don't have full control of, meaning it can F us in multiple ways. Some people, even the healthiest, can get stage 4 cancer, etc. But how does this allow society to be more empathetic? It allows society to be able to understand that this person, despite doing his best, just fell short with the reality. It doesn't make people look at that person less, but it makes us look at that illness even more importantly. When we say the big C, that is the enemy of the 21st century. Just like how we beat COVID and we survived despite all the bad things that have happened, we're here to continue the fight against the big C to be able to help those who have fallen before us, those who are currently struggling with it now, and those who might continue to be affected by that in the future. That is the lens of what happens in the battlefield. So don't let their side get away with this misrepresentation and false binary that, oh, it's just about winners and losers. Yes, that's a part of it, and that's a very important part because we have to deal with the realities. Meaning, if we aren't able to understand to what rate people are being affected or to what extent people from different parts of the world are being affected, we don't have a clear sense of urgency. That sense of urgency is something that you uniquely get when you look at the severity of the situation, which is precisely what motivates society right now to push so much and invest so much time and resources towards eradicating cancer. We definitely are significant steps closer to being able to find a cure than we were 50 years ago. And that had only happened because of how people had framed it as the enemy and were empathetic to the very people in society, our loved ones, our friends who did have a journey, but ultimately fell to their demise, or those who were fortunate were able to rise above. And with that, my heart and empathy to everyone affected. The speech is for you. We are very proud to stand on side opposition.